So I'm a senior research scientist at CESN at Columbia University's Earth Institute, and I work a lot with Susanna Adamo, who I believe is on this call as well, and is part of the committee. And so we do a lot on climate mobility, and so I'll be talking a bit about some of the efforts that we've been making to address climate mobility and essentially communicate it through hopefully more easily accessible formats. Some of these slides are repeats of things that I presented at one of the last Climate Forced Migration Project meetings, which was maybe 2 years ago, or I can't remember when. But these are some projects we've been engaged in where we were producing by intent research that would contribute, or mapping, or other activities that would contribute to policy-oriented reports. So this is a report we produced with colleagues at CARE and United Nations University for one of the conference of parties of the UNFCCC back in 2009. And this kind of got us going in a certain direction where we use maps as part of a storytelling or a narrative tool to essentially describe what's going on in different regions of the world. I don't have time to go into all the details of each of the studies case studies that were included in that report. And this one followed on 3 years later, also with the same partners. And we again used mapping, and the focus was more on the specific issue of rainfall variability and how it may contribute to mobility in certain countries, Peru, Guatemala, et cetera. And again, the maps were part of a tool to essentially convey a narrative about what may be happening in different parts of the world with regards to climate displacement and migration. More recently, we've partnered with the World Bank and conducted modeling. So this is using essentially geospatial maps and technology to project into the future where we may see more intense climate migration. For instance, in the East Africa region, you see on the right side of this slide, you'll see, likely see more migration into the area around Lake Victoria Basin, even though it's already very densely populated. But for climatic reasons, these are areas that are going to be likely more favorable in the future. And then we may see some more out migration along the coastal zone, and then some of the hotter, lower lying elevations along the coast. This has led, well, one thing that we include in all this work, so this ongoing work, we released this report in 2018, the cover of which you see in the top corner, and we are producing now a version 2 of that same report, which will cover all regions. The first report just covered 3 main regions: Mexico, Central America as one, East Africa, and South Asia, and we're actually expanding now to all the World Bank developing regions. So that's in the works. We are conducting a series of consultations now as well. This was one that we conducted back in 2017. Susanna Adamo actually traveled to Mexico, and there were essentially an effort to understand from the ground what's going on with various stakeholders, academic and policy audiences, to understand how our results may or may not conform to what they're seeing on the ground, and what are some of the discussions they're having about internal migration within their countries in relation to climate displacement and forced migration. The reality is that numbers and maps often attract policy attention, whether or not we like that. It's not something that I was particularly eager to do, is to produce these bar charts you see in the bottom corner of future potential migration under different climate and development scenarios. But it became an assistance on the part of the World Bank that we actually produce those so that there could be some media hook and angle. So you may have heard widely reported this notion that there'll be 143 climate change induced migrants in 2050, which of course is based only on the 3 regions, actually all of sub-Saharan Africa, all of Latin America, and South Asia was what we were able to do for the last report. And the question, of course, is now they want to look at new numbers in the future. One of the things that's come out of this, and also occurred before, was requests by the media to do interviews. And so I've had a lot of these opportunities over the last 2 years in particular, but prior to that, there were also interviews, because this is a hot topic. Climate refugees is something that people are talking about. So trying to disentangle and actually give some nuance to the topic is actually a huge challenge, and something that we will discuss in one of our round tables, not only on this topic, but all the topics that you all have been addressing in just after this, when we go to the Wonder platform. Also, one other area that I've been involved in is this issue of domestic climate displacement and issues around managed retreat in the coastal zone. We're hosting a conference in June, a second conference that the Earth Institute is hosting on the topic of managed retreat, which I'm a co-chair of. Also, just in terms of notification for all on this call, that there is this new network called the Climate Mobility Network. Daniel's part of it. There's a number of people on this call. Angel Muniz is also on that. And we have a new co-chair coming in, Kamala Makran, who is an adjunct at SEPA. We welcome you to join. Please contact me by that email address. We are developing a course on climate mobility that I know there's some related courses at Barnard, and there's some courses at Columbia that Daniel teaches, but we want to do something that's specific to climate mobility under the rubric of the Climate School. And we are planning various communication activities, and I'll be hosting an undergraduate this summer, but there'll be a lot of other educational opportunities coming up. Lastly, I'll close with this. Suzanne and I run this network called the Population Environment Research Network under a couple of different international groups, and this network will be hosting a cyber or online seminar coming up in May on the topic of refugee populations and climate risks. This is contributing, essentially building on work that Jamin Vandenhoek at Oregon State has been doing on the missing millions. Just basically, there's in a kind of community of demographers and geographers, we need to know more about where these people are located, what their needs are, in the context of the Leave No One Behind agenda. Thank you.